Hello, everybody, and welcome to UGASports Recruiting Rumors versus Facts. My name is Blaine Gilmer. I'm here with Jed May and Trent Smallwood, and we have a loaded show for you here on Rumors versus Facts. As this past Arkansas weekend, there was a absolutely loaded, star-studded field guest list, and even for a 12 o'clock game, Trent, it was there was a lot of big time guys there.
Yeah, it was definitely impressive. I guess kind of what tops it off is number one rated prospect in the country, Travis Hunter, coming. But even without him, I mean, it was you had the Bear Bryant, you had the Bear Alexanders, and I mean, it was loaded. I don't think Bear Bryant was
If
there.
Bear Bryant was there, that would have been really impressive for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I think everybody came except, I mean, did Singletary show up?
No, so Singletary never quite made it in there, but yeah, it was a absolutely loaded list. And Jed, you've got guys there like Jalen Walker and Malachi Starks who keep coming to these games, and just how important it. I mean, we've talked to some of these guys who are recruits or that have turned into commitments, and now they're doing the recruiting of their own. When Georgia has that solid base of those guys there, doing some recruiting for them, just how important is it, when you've got these high profile guys there kind of along with them?
Well, it's one of those things, right, where those guys know what each other's going through. I mean, they know sort of how each school is treating them and all that kind of stuff. And I remember talking to Denon Morissette earlier this summer, and he was like, "Yeah, us players, we usually know where each other's going, before the coaching staffs do. So those are guys, they're obviously going through shared experiences right now, especially the guys that are, in the same class, the 22s and 22s, 23s, 23s, the 22 guys can compare official visits, all that kind of stuff. So definitely when you have guys that can act as, I guess, extensions of the coaching staff and recruiting them and all that, pitching guys and all that kind of stuff, it's definitely a huge bonus to have them at all these home games.
For sure. And I know that I was talking to a 2022 commit. I won't give the name here recently, but it was a week ago, and he was like, man, I really like that Kalen Lee kid. He can really play. And, next day, Kalen Lee commits to the University of Georgia. So it is that case, as you say, where, these guys know what's going on with each other, even more so, like you said, maybe than some of the coaches. They really become an extension, like you said, of the coaching staff and trying to get a lot of stuff done. But guys, we're here on the UGA Sports YouTube channel, and if you love this content, you love what comes out of this show, make sure to do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, share with some friends on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, now that it's back up and running today after everybody thought the world was ending when Facebook and Instagram got hacked. So we'll see what ends up happening with all that, what comes out in the coming days. But it's back up and ready to go, and it is a huge time for the University of Georgia. There's a lot of momentum coming off of that 37-0 shutout over Arkansas. It's easy. It seems like an eternity now, just a couple of days later, but Arkansas, everybody needs to remember they were the number 8 ranked team in the country, with a lot of kind of pomp and circumstance coming into that game. And Georgia's defense takes care of business in front of some guys like a Shamar Stewart, who was there, a Kamari Wilson on defense on an official visit, Julian Humphrey on an official visit. Michael Williams was there, who's a USC commit as we speak right now. So Trent, a lot of guys on that defensive side of the ball that got to see a just unbelievable performance.
Yeah, no doubt. And back in the summer when you're looking at this defensive class, it was kind of kind of looking like it was Georgia was missing on some guys, and things were going trending downhill. And I think the main thing is kind of what we've touched on with what Georgia missed on last year with Kirby Smart getting these guys on campus and having the unofficial official visits and since then and along with how Georgia's playing, things have really just taken off for Georgia, just in all position groups. Really, there's not one really standing out more than the other. It's just they're just recruiting very well.
Absolutely. And, we're going to throw up all these questions and things here in a minute, but with so much going on and so many kind of behind the scenes elements going on, I felt it was best that we just kind of take a pause real quick here and look at, okay, where is the class right now? And, where are the numbers and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to put this graphic up if you're watching along on the UGA Sports YouTube channel where I listed the commits here. And of course, Georgia has the 17 commits as of now. And then there's some possible flips out there, really about 5 guys that you could see flipping in this class. And then a laundry list of targets over there, Trent. When you look at this list and you see those flips and the targets and then the 17 commits that are currently on the list right now, what is just kind of the first thing that pops out to you and stands out to you when you see the names on this list?
I mean, where are you gonna find room? I mean, I think Georgia. I mean, just looking at the possible flips, looking at the targets. I mean, Georgia sits well with 95% of these guys. So, where are you going to find room? Where are you going to? I mean, I think this class, the way it looked, 2 months ago to what it's going to look like in December, it's going to be vastly different, and I think it's going to be for the better.
Yeah, I mean, you see right there, Oscar Delp has a commitment date of October 13th. Everybody expects him to be a Georgia Bulldog. Kamari Wilson for a long time, a lot of future cast to be a Georgia Bulldog. I've got a future cast in for Ernest Green to be a Georgia Bulldog. You, Trent, have a future cast in for Luther Burden to be a Georgia Bulldog. Our guy Ben Bachman put in one for Jaheim Singletary today. Kristen Miller's got a lot to be a dog. I know I talked with Shamar Stewart's camp today. They were really impressed after that visit. And there's at least 3 of those possible flips over there that I think are either close or could be, pulling the trigger literally any time now on flipping to the University of Georgia. No, Roddy dropped a note that if he had the ability to put a future cast in for a flip, he would do so for Michael Williams. So, Jed, I mean, like Trent said, is this a possible thing where maybe Georgia knows more than we know in terms of how they're going to utilize maybe the shifting around of the scholarships with some of the guys who are currently on the commitment side of things, and then also that extra 7 spots that you get with transfers going in and out, that rule that the NCAA has stated?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what they pay these guys for, right? It's like a GM in the NFL. Those guys get paid to make decisions and fit in under the salary cap and all that kind of stuff. And, instead in college, instead of the salary cap, you got, the scholarship limits and all that kind of thing. So however it happens, it always shakes out. And it seems like every year there's these things of, okay, Georgia's in it with this many guys and they got to fit it in somehow. It always works out in the end, whether, guys get moved around or whatever the case may be. But, it's like the question we get, seemingly every week, if there's room for Jaheim Singletary, Julian Humphrey, and Kamari Wilson, the staff's going to find room for the best players to join this team. I mean, that's the one thing that we seem to know. That the specifics of it, maybe not so much, but the best players are going to be in this class. I don't have any doubt about that.
Well, there's guys when you look at this list right here, there's guys like if a Travis Hunter wants a spot in the class, he's going to get a spot in the class. Exactly. If Kamari Wilson wants a spot in the class, he'll have a spot. Jaheim Singletary, same thing. Shamar Stewart, same thing. Even a Walter Nolan if he wanted one. So there's that many guys that are legitimately there. You hate to say it, but there could be some guys that are on that commitment list that maybe don't end up on that commitment list. Georgia's had some go in and out already throughout this year, but we're going to get to questions in just a minute. But I just wanted to, Trent, you've been kind of doing some research and stuff. Travis Hunter almost broke the internet when he showed up on the 3rd row after breaking his ankle. So he breaks his ankle, then he almost breaks the internet the next day by showing up at Georgia in the 3rd row. He's sitting there, and I turn around, and all of a sudden I see him, and I just lift my phone up and just take a picture of him real quick because I honestly couldn't believe I was seeing him sitting there. What is kind of some stuff that you've learned over the last 48 hours with the Travis Hunter situation?
I just thought it was unique because as of about 3 weeks ago, he wasn't listening to other college coaches. And I think, Georgia showed up at his game. Muschamp showed up at his game 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. and what was on the sidelines, and then he got injured Friday night. I know Georgia was one of the first teams, or if not the first team, to reach out to him after his injury, wishing him well. And then they got him on campus Saturday. So I think Georgia's just pursuit, just endless pursuit, just showing him how much he's loved, how much he's wanted, is really worked out here. And I don't know how far it's gotten. I think Georgia's on his mind, definitely, or he wouldn't have been in Athens on Saturday. I would say Georgia's on his mind today. He has strong ties with Florida State. It's going to be hard. At the end of the day, it's going to be hard to decommit from Florida State just because of those ties. But I would say if he does choose to go elsewhere, it will be Georgia.
And when you come to, that Florida State situation, you already see them, it's kind of like the rats off a sinking ship. It's kind of the analogy that I'm going to use in terms of, everybody knows it's going down. And you see Landon Thomas, who is a 2024 tight end, committed to to Florida State. He visited Georgia, gets an offer from Georgia on Saturday. He decommits the next day. So, you've got this already starting to come to fruition where Florida State is losing momentum rapidly. And, it's on one hand, as a college football fan, it's kind of sad to see a historic program just go down the crapper like that. But then on the other hand, to finders keepers kind of things as you go throughout this, and there's going to be lots of teams that reap the benefits of Florida State kind of stinking up the joint. Miami just as well. I mean, I talked to Shamar Stewart's camp today, Jed, and there can't be a whole lot of confidence when they don't know if Manny Diaz is going to be there or not, come the end of this season.
Well, and Jaheim Singletary too, right? That's a guy that has obviously, he told me it was, Georgia, Florida, Miami were the three of the really tough schools he was looking at. And obviously you look at Miami, they're doinking field goals to lose to Virginia. They're getting run out of their own stadium, which as a sidebar is probably only a quarter full to begin with against Michigan State. So that's one of those things. And you look at Georgia, I know there's been kind of a lot made over the past year or two. James Coley left, and that was Georgia's South Florida connection. But when Miami's not very good and Florida State's not very good, that it doesn't all the way balance out, I guess, but it certainly doesn't hurt, when staying home maybe isn't as much of a priority for those guys with the state of those two programs.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. When you say Miami has been historically bad and Florida State's been historically bad, and this has been for years now, what program should be awesome right now?
Florida Gators.
The Florida Gators, and they absolutely are the antithesis of awesome. I mean, they are underperforming terribly under Dan Mullen, not only on the football field, but in recruiting. I mean, they are consistently 14th, 15th, 16th in recruiting rankings. I mean, they're not anywhere near, maybe occasionally might jump up to 9 for a high water mark, but they do not recruit at the level they need to recruit, especially with some of those programs struggling so badly. And I think, that leads us to a guy like Julian Humphrey, who I feel like Georgia has really impressed. He went from being a guy that was at the 5-star challenge, had just committed to Florida at the end of May. We saw him at the 5-star challenge, just talked to him a little bit, off record, was like, hey, can I, see, is Georgia still talking to you? They pursuing you, that kind of stuff. And at that point, he was like, I really don't want anything said right now, but I was up there, I just went on a visit, things like that. And then, so he goes from that point in about mid-June to the end of June, beginning of July, posting all these pictures of this photo shoot that he did and things like that, really starting to feel that love, from Georgia. And then a couple weeks later schedules the official visit that he took this weekend to Arkansas. You just got to feel a top 10 matchup and the kind of the contrast with how Florida's doing. We say all the time, one game does not determine whether a recruit goes somewhere or not, right, Trent? I mean, a win or lose game, if it's between two schools, one game outcome, that's not going to do it. But trends in how a program plays and how they perform, that certainly does. And you have to feel like the trend of Georgia's defense and Georgia's program versus that of the University of Florida is going in two opposite directions, Trent.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at it. Who wouldn't want to play in Georgia's defense right now? I mean, just the way, if you were on hand Saturday, say a Michael Williams or Barry Alexander or Julian Humphrey or those guys, looking at that defense, just watching how locked down they are. I mean, you're looking at how many NFL draft picks on that defense alone.
And
So
on
you're like,
well, I thought you were going to say on the first team. I was like, and on the second team.
yeah, I mean, just the top 22, you probably got what, 16, 17 draft picks right there. And they're not going to be a majority of those guys are going to be in the top 3 rounds and over the next couple of years. So you're looking at that and you're saying, well, I have an opportunity because these guys are leaving, but look at what they're look at how these coaches have developed. Look what they're about to put in the NFL, and just those things are really hitting home for these recruits. And it's hard for Florida to compare to that right now, just because of the way that program is trending. 3-5 in their last 8 games, 1-5 against Power 5 teams. It's just not good. And like you said, it shouldn't be like that with Florida State and Miami. Being down as they've been in the past, 5 years, 6 years, however long it's been. So Florida's had the opportunity to take full advantage of this, other 2 teams being down, and they haven't done it. And I think it's mainly because they don't have good recruiters on that staff. Not necessarily, I mean, they're just not top-notch guys. That's what Kirby looks for. That's what Saban looks for. Guys that can coach, but guys that can recruit. They can relate to these guys. And I think, those 2 programs are showing, on the field what it takes to recruit, and you see the results on the field.
If I can follow up on that, those guys, you mentioned Barry Alexander as an example. He went to the game in Charlotte. He went the other night. Guys like that have went to both of those games. Have seen Georgia play 2 top 10 opponents, and they've seen that defense give up 3 points in 8 quarters against 2 top 10 teams. I mean, it's like you said, who wouldn't want to play in that defense, given the way they're playing right now?
I mean, overall, I think they're averaging it's like 4.6 points per contest that they're giving up.
Yeah, I think that even counts the pick 6 like that Carson Beck threw against UAB. I mean, I think if you're counting straight defense, that gets even lower than that. I mean, it's
I mean, they gave up seven on the pick 6. They gave up 3 on the Stetson Bennett interception down in Georgia territory where they kicked a field goal, and then they beat Amir Speed in the 4th quarter, who's not playing much now, for 7. So there's 17 of the 4.
Yeah, no doubt. And we've got a lot of questions to get to here. So we're going to go ahead and start rolling into those. And we'll start right off with one of the big ones here from Suspense 12. Who do you believe our next 3 public commits will be? So Georgia's next 3 public commits from Suspense. So Trent, I mean, if you're talking about straight up commits, we'll leave the flips out for just a minute, but straight up out of that list, and I'll put the list up again. Let's just go off this target list over here. Out of that, who do you think the guys are going to be the most 3 to commit next?
I'll go with Oscar Delp, Kamari Wilson, Luther Burden.
Yeah, all those guys, Delp scheduled on the 13th, Burden scheduled on the 20th. I think it's super tight right now between Georgia and Missouri with Luther Burden. I think Georgia's well positioned, like obviously you do, Trent, with a future casting for him. I just know that that's a lot of people say in a matchup, a team will circle one on the calendar and they treat it as their Super Bowl. Well, Luther Burden is the Super Bowl, if you will, for Missouri when it comes to their recruiting. So that's kind of back and forth on that one, but I think those 3 are definitely the most likely candidates because most of these other guys over here, I know Shamar Stewart's waiting until February, Kristen Miller, All-American Bowl, Walter Nolan, the All-American Bowl. I think Ernest Green's going to take a little bit more time.
Bears All-American Bowl.
Yeah, Jaheim Singletary, who knows, Bear All-American Bowl. So a lot of those guys have already designated that they're going to take their time. But, interesting right there with those 3 guys. I think if you're talking about the flips, including that into it, I think I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Michael Williams before too long, as Roddy noted over on the vault today. And then also a Julian Humphrey flip would not be something that would be totally out of the realm of possibility here soon either. So we will will see what happens when it comes to those. Like you said, it's all about timing. It's all about those slots and how many Georgia can actually take, and then who of those current commits actually ends up in the class. Got another one here. Let me put this out. I'm gonna have to scroll them across the bottom, guys, because every time I try to do it with three of us on here, it kind of raises us up out of the shot. So I'll read this question, just let it scroll across the bottom. How do we see the OLB/edge class shaking out right now with the season Georgia is having on defense in particular? It would not be a surprise, and he had some more on there. It would not be surprised to see a lot of these talented guys, commit soon. So when it comes to that, the edge position, you got Darius Smith already committed. I'll throw that list back up there to make it easier for us. We've got CJ Washington can play outside backer. Darius Smith is going to play outside on the edge or defensive end, something like that. Jalen Walker is utilized at outside. He could go inside. CJ Madden's an outside guy. So all of those guys can play on the edge, and then like I said, you add a Michael Williams, you add a Shamar Stewart possibly right there. I feel like a Nye White's probably not as likely anymore with some of the development that's been going on here recently. But I mean, do you guys feel that Washington, Smith, Madden, and Walker, depending on how he's used, then possibly a Williams and Shamar Stewart? I mean, that's probably the most likely outcome for the edge, right? If you're able to add a Stewart, because it's going to be tough to bring Stewart in. He's still heavily considered an A&M, even though they're having their struggles, and also Ohio State's in there for him as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Michael it's still an edge, but he'd be used like a hybrid. I think he would see time at Jack, especially early. Might depending on how he grows, might go down to defensive end. I think George just likes his explosiveness off the edge, and Trayvon Walker and all them guys play technically an edge. I mean, you're playing that 3-4. Sometimes you drop down a linebacker, and Trayvon's on the one edge. So I think they'll use Michael in different ways. I think the other guys are more you got Sam Madden, who would probably be CJ Madden, who would probably be in the Jack, and then some of Jelon Walker and some of those guys in the on the other side. But I think that's pretty much your edge. That's what the guys you're looking at the edge. I think Georgia's one or two guys away from filling that class.
Yeah, I mean it's getting packed over there at the edge position, and I think if they are to pull off a flip here soon, then that spot's going to get awful tight. Some premiums on that edge spots remaining, and if you were to say to Trent on who gets moved inside potentially, who's more likely, would that be CJ Washington or would that be Jalen Walker? Because one of those guys I'm sure will be looked to move inside and play some inside backer.
I would say CJ Washington. I mean, I do like Jelon Walker on the outside. I do, and he has the capability to play either one, but I kind of view his explosiveness and stuff like Adam Anderson, playing him on the edge. But I think it's just a matter of just getting these athletic, tall, skinny guys in there and just seeing where they fit. Quay Walker was an outside guy in high school, and now look what he's developed into. I mean, he's a monster in that starter on the inside linebacker. So I think just get them there, see how they develop, see who can play where, and I mean, it's never bad to have too many of these guys than not enough.
Yeah, we had another question from ZXBY140, and I had to shorten this one up a little bit because it got so cumbersome on here, and I only fit 200 characters. But it said, it seemed to me that Kirby getting all these top players, including major flip targets, together for a noon kickoff against a top 10 team was a gutsy move. A lot could go wrong, but it seems everything went right. Agree, disagree? What is the power move? That this power move spoke to confidence into his team? So I don't know how well Kirby communicates, hey, we've got XYZ recruits coming in out there. I know players that are currently there probably talk to some. Jed, I'm sure that's a question that whenever you're talking to guys, you ask, hey, do you know any guys on the team? Do you have any connections to Georgia? That kind of stuff. Do you have a feel whether you think some of those guys may know when ex players coming on a visit, things like that?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I mean, I asked, I forget who it was. I was at interviews a couple weeks ago and asked a player about that. Just is that I think it was after the South Carolina game. Obviously, Donnie Mitchell scored that touchdown right in front of Arch Manning. A lot was made of that clip. And I asked one of the players, like, do y'all, I guess, get excited about that showing out for kind of the next generation? That guy said, the typical, coach speak with Kirby, peeking around the corner like the nurse guy, and Happy Gilmore just the. But yeah, I'm sure they do. I mean, like you said, they talk to these guys, if nothing else, on through social media and all that kind of stuff. So, um, yeah, I think so. And then those guys get to go down on the field, they get to watch them warm up. They're 10 yards away or whatever. So I definitely think they know those guys, and it's one of those things where it kind of goes back to Kirby challenging the fans back after the I guess it was after the Vanderbilt game. He was kind of banking on a lot of stuff going right with the atmosphere.
And he mentioned recruiting. He said
exactly.
he said in his press conference, he said, "We're going to have a lot of big recruits there.
Yeah.
You guys need to show up and get there early." One story that I had from it was Kevin Call, who is a 2023 edge player from Apopka, Florida. If that sounds familiar, because that's where Jalen Carter's from as well. Georgia went into Apopka and got him out of there. And, Kevin said that he was down there for pregame warmups, and Jalen ran over there to him and spoke to him, told him it was good to see him there, that kind of stuff. So there are those relationships there, and those guys know about that kind of stuff. After the game, I was taking pictures there in the end zone, and had some players run up to where the recruits were, and they were kind of pointing at guys and pulling at the G and all that kind of stuff, on the jersey. So there's definitely some interaction there, and they know what's going on with that kind of stuff. But ZXBY 140, you're definitely right. It was a kind of an all-in move by Kirby. He wanted that big time atmosphere. He knew it was a top 10 game. Arkansas is a good team, and they, if Georgia hadn't came to play, they could have got some stuff going on the run game and made that a tough game for Georgia. But Georgia responded the way that I think the way that Kirby Smart only could have dreamed that they would. Everything went just about perfectly. They ran the ball at will whenever they wanted to. Stetson Bennett stepped in admirably like he always does, and the defense was lights out once again. So
I was going to add something, and I think with the early start, it kind of helps the staff when it comes to official visits, because if you have a late game on Saturday, there's not much communication with those recruits. I mean, I guess you're still talking to them a little bit, but you're game planning, you're getting ready, and then if you have an early start, you get that game over with, then you can show in more love to those recruits on Saturday than you would with a late start.
No doubt. It's a lot more time you get to spend with them, and when you only have a couple there, which I think it was only Kamari and Julian doing their officials right this week. I think those were the only two.
You had some unofficial guys spend the night, but other than that,
yeah. So, but in terms of official visit capacity, those guys really getting to spend a lot of times, and both being DBs. That Dan Lannon and Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp just had a great time, hosting those guys and getting to be around them. I'm not going to put some of these questions on here because we're going to start rolling, but I wanted to just go ahead and read them out. As far as being as upside being obtained, how does Kristen Miller measure up to Bear and Tyree? Things, Trent, I'll let you kind of speak on that here in just a second. But I think Kristen Miller was a guy who has really upped his game going into this senior year. His senior film, I think, is one that Georgia's big on senior tape, and I think his senior tape is one that's going to help his stock tremendously.
Yeah, I think it started at the Rivals Challenge, when he was named defensive MVP, and I think he kind of took whatever happened in the recruiting, whether some teams backed off, some teams slow played, and whatever. I think he kind of took that to heart, and I think he started playing with a chip on his shoulder, and you can really tell by that because he's upped his game. And I think as far as upside, you're looking to me, I'm looking at how Trey Scott has developed some of these guys on campus, and taking a guy who's athletic, plays more. He's probably going to play more of the 3 tech, like where Devontae Wyatt and Jalen Carter plays at times when he's not. But he's another athletic guy that you're adding Trey Scott's going to be able to get his hands on, and he's going to be able to get, try to get that upside out of him. And he's definitely got the upside.
No doubt. And I think when you talk about a Christian Miller too, it's also Kirby Smart and this Georgia team. They love guys who have genuinely love to play the game, right? I mean, you see the excitement that Kirby has. Jed, I thought after Dan Jackson blocked that punt in the game, I thought Kirby was going to lose his mind over there on the sideline. He's so happy for Dan Jackson, and that's the kind of camaraderie that those players enjoy with Kirby. And you've been around Christian Miller, Jed. He's got just an infectious personality for sure. He's a guy that's always brings the entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, I went and watched their game Friday night, and he was jumping around pregame. He was dancing. He was singing. He was on the sideline. Talking. Even it was they were blowing out the team they were playing, and he was on the sideline. He was getting the trainers to undo the tape on his hands, and he's still watching the game. And one of his teammates got a sack, and he was cheering for him from the sidelines. A guy that doesn't get to play a whole lot. So he's a guy that seems like will be would be if he or wherever he goes. Honestly, he will be one of those guys in the locker room everyone loves. He brings the energy. He's on social media a lot, and it seems like a very charismatic, guy. And I know for me personally, if he ended up coming to Georgia, he'd be one of those guys that I'd be looking forward to interview just because he brings that energy. He's smiling all the time, all that kind of stuff. So,
kind of reminds me of the Warren Brinson and those guys who just love the game and are having fun. I mean, you see Julian Rochester and Warren Brinson down on the sidelines. I mean, you act like they're right there playing 25 snaps a game, but they're not. But they're they just love the game. So
I can't decide if Warren Brinson is the best dancer on Georgia's team or just the most willing dancer on Georgia's
I think he's just the most willing. I mean, he's not bad.
I mean, you hit a note hits out there in a TV timeout or something like that, and you see 97 out there, just getting after it. I mean, for sure, he's having a good time out there. I'll go ahead and put this one scrolling across the bottom. Primetime dog. Who is more likely to be in this class between Dayon Bowie and Kojo Antwi? I know that both of them were there at this point in time. I don't see either one of them being in this class, Trent, and what are your feelings upon that?
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that one because I mean, I guess best. No, I don't know. I don't have no clue. I don't think either one of them's going to be in this class right as of today. I don't see either one of them in this class.
And Lord knows this stuff changes in a hurry because about 5 days ago, we probably wouldn't have been talking about Travis Hunter and the University of Georgia as well. So I know Kojo Antwi has been there two weeks in a row. Dayon Bowie, has the Bainbridge connection to Kirby Smart for sure. He's committed to Texas A&M right now, however, though. So I think that, we've put the list up there. There's only so many spots, right? There's only so much room. And the train's pulling out of the station, for some of these guys. So it's a lot about timing, and we'll see how it all works out there. But I think in the wide receiver class, Luther Burden's obviously that main target out there. A guy that I didn't have on the target list, Shaz Preston, is somebody of course that's going to planning to make a visit later this year. But I would put Luther Burden as the main pure wide receiver target. Probably Shaz Preston right underneath him. Kojo may fall underneath that, and then you would have Travis Hunter, who would play wide receiver and DB at Georgia. I mean, like a Champ Bailey type prospect.
Yeah.
A lot of people give that some lip service, and they say, "Oh, yeah, so and so." They said he can play both at the next level. Trent,
no,
Travis Hunter
play.
can dominate at both at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Travis Hunter would not come in as a freshman and be able to play on both sides of the ball as a freshman. I mean, he is that good. I mean, he's hands down the best player that I've seen in this class this year. And his upside is just unbelievable.
And that brings us to another question we have with Speedy Dog here, and I'll let it roll across the bottom. Speedy Dog says, do we, Georgia, have a greater than 50% chance to sign Travis Hunter? Well, right now, I don't think you can handicap that with a percentage greater than 50%, because right now he still would have to decommit from Florida State. So that's a hard one to handicap and put a percentage on. Jed, when they're still committed elsewhere. We've talked about this with Michael Williams. We've said for weeks now, we really like Michael Williams to be a flip chance to Georgia, but they kind of got to do that decommitment first, don't they?
Yeah, we've talked about it with just it's guys all summer. I mean, every time we do one of these shows, it seems like we answer the same thing. They got to decommit first. That being said, it's kind of like Trent said earlier. If Travis Hunter does decide to go anywhere else but Florida State, it seems, all those arrows are pointing toward Georgia right now, just in the sense of, he came to Athens and all that kind of stuff. So greater than 50%. I mean, it's kind of hard to say that when he's still committed elsewhere. But if you take Florida State out of it, then yeah, I would think Georgia would be lead among the flip candidates.
And I think Georgia put a lot on his mind, but the key is Georgia's already visited, him for a game. I think the key is now getting him back on campus and kind of letting him know those feelings are still there. If you go on and he doesn't visit again, I think this kind of fades. But if he shows up at Kentucky game or shows up, later in the season at another home game, this is trending in the right direction. And I do expect him to visit again. I do expect him to take an official visit to Georgia, and we'll see where that leads.
No doubt. And after all the publicity he got there being on the third row of that game, he may visit and you may never see him at a game coming up if he doesn't want to be out there anymore. Because I've rarely seen scenes like that where there's action going on the field because Georgia's just drubbing Arkansas, and you've got media guys over there in the end zone all realizing at the same time, hey, Travis Hunter's right there in the stands. So, everybody's turned where they're back to the field, shooting in the crowd, trying to get Travis Hunter there. So it was a sight to see for sure in that one. A lot of questions on here. Too many to put on here at one time on Anai White. I'd put in a future cast for Anai White after his visit to Georgia, but kind of probably that visit high, right? We had reliable intel that things look good for Anai to be on board. But as we said, things change swiftly. And I think Michael Williams having a great visit there. Georgia really leaning on him to be a part of this class, and decommit from USC could be a part of that. I think there's ground that's been made with Shamar Stewart. Definitely with Ohio State struggling on defense this year. There being questions whether Ohio State's defensive coordinator is even going to be around next year. Texas A&M's 0-2 in the SEC play, and they're having struggles. Miami is a dumpster fire. So with all of that going on, Shamar Stewart, I think, is sitting pretty well for Georgia. And I'm not saying that Georgia has them ranked, those guys ranked better or worse than Anai White. I don't, I'm not sitting in on that meeting. Don't know that for sure, but I would think, Trent, that would have something to do with it when you got well positioned to possibly bring in guys on the edge like a Shamar and like a Michael that could be used in a variety of ways. Yeah,
and you got guys that are more kind of a mix between inside linebacker and outside linebacker, and they fit more in that Adam Anderson type role, and you're looking for those big jack linebackers that you're going to trust to go up against the run, and I think Anai White fits more on the other side. Yeah, he's a bigger frame, but he's more skinny.
He's more of a true 4-3 defensive end, right?
Right, and I just think that scheme wise, you're looking at like a Michael Williams, and you're looking at Shamar Stewart. They just kind of fit better in Georgia's scheme, and that might be a case of where we're at, when it comes down to these final couple spots.
No doubt. I think one thing people need to realize too, Shamar Stewart's 275 pounds, and he's run a legitimately timed 4.55 40. The dude can fly. Like he's big. He can really, really run. Michael Williams, I think, is listed at places at, 260 and stuff like that. I think he's smaller than that. I think he's not smaller, meaning in a bad connotation, but I don't think he's that heavy. I think he's more trimmed up to, what do you think, Trent? Maybe a 240, 245-ish?
Yeah, I think he's probably 245 or so. And he's probably 6'3 and a half, 6'4. I don't think he touches 6'5 either. But
Jed, you're a tall guy. You've stood right beside Michael. How tall is he?
He's like Trent said, probably 6'3 and a half, 6'4. I don't think he's quite 6'5. if I got to look up a lot, I tend to notice, and I didn't have to look up too much. So I'd say probably topping out at 6'4", I'd say.
There we go. There we go. So Jed, but we've covered a lot of 2022 stuff here. Last question on 2022s that I'll read. How do you guys see Dylan Bell's game compared to Denylon Morissette? Said I love them both, but they seem really similar to me. That came from Kilo Braun. So Dylan Bell and Denylon Morissette, I think, are very, very similar because they're both thick, physical wide receivers that also have the ability to do some finesse things, run some tunnel screens and stuff like that. But I see pardon the pun, a bulldog mentality out of both of those. I mean, Trent, what's your thoughts on those two guys?
Yeah, I mean that very very similar type receivers. I don't know. Dylan Bell might be a tad faster. I don't really. I haven't seen Dylan Bell live, but just looking at his highlights, just kind of comparing the two. But both very good receivers.
I know Dylan had 11 catches for 215 yards and 5 touchdowns this past Friday, so he's doing something
and
right.
That's one of those things where you kind of look at the Georgia defense. It don't matter who you're playing; that's pretty dang good. So
yeah, that is the truth. Now, Jed, like I said, we've kind of touched a lot on 2022 here. Any 2023, 2024, even 2025 guys, younger guys that you've talked to recently that you have something noteworthy you'd like to share on here? Some guys you've talked to recently.
Yeah, I know we both talked to Colin Hurley, 2025 quarterback over the past couple months. He was at the cookout, I believe, was the first time he came to Athens. Got an offer the next day, and he was at the game the other night. I know we talked to you. Georgia's very high on his list. He spent some time with Todd Monken, things like that. Bison Lang, a 2023 guy from Alabama, he's made 2 game visits this summer. I said, loved the visit. Couldn't. I think he told me he couldn't hear the guy next to him. It was so loud there in that first quarter. So. Trying to think.
I thought that Kevin Call as
Kevin
well.
Call, right?
Yeah, Kevin Call, 2023, Michael Daugherty. Those guys are Michael Daugherty. I saw him at Grayson, and I put out an article about him when we watched him the other night. Trent, we were there. I saw Michael Daugherty when his team was down, encouraging his teammates, rallying his teammates, trying to be a leader on that field. The offense was struggling. There wasn't much they could do about it, but the defense started to lead a comeback against a good Mill Creek team, to trying their best to scratch and claw to get back in it. And Michael Daugherty, I think, has obviously great talent as a defensive back there, but then he has the intangibles you would like to see as well. And that's why he's so highly recruited, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it goes back what Kirby says. He says we're not only looking for the best players, they're looking for a certain mentality, and a certain kid with that dog mentality. And I think he has that dog mentality along with the leadership that he likes his defensive backs to have. And I think he would kind of fit into that Kirby system that he likes.
No doubt. Two guys that were there. You had Quay Russaw and you had James Smith from IMG Academy. These are guys in the class of 2023 that are, I think Quay is bench pressing 225 20 times already. I mean, he's a strong upper bodied linebacker, and James Smith is 6'3", 310 pounds with an 82-inch wingspan. The guy's a quick twitch, defensive tackle, and is somebody that Georgia is really, really doing a good job. I mean, I almost tweeted out, I almost put the tweet with the caption, find you somebody that is as happy when they see you as Kirby Smart was when he saw James Smith the other day, because I mean, that picture, Kirby's got a genuine smile on his face. Jed, you've been to those press conferences. Kirby, it's hard to get Kirby to crack a genuine smile in there, but James Smith had Kirby smiling from ear to ear on that visit.
Yeah, it's definitely noteworthy. Dash kind of got him to smirk today when he told him he did his research about lad injuries, talking about JT Daniels. he kind of got a smirk out of him. So yeah, when you see
kind of, but then Kirby snapped right into saying, "Well, really, Dash, there's a 1 and a 1+ and a 1++." He started going
do
back.
more research, idiot. But it's one of those things, and that's what a lot of these kids talk about. When a coach makes time, a head coach especially makes time for you on these game day visits, especially one as highly anticipated as this one was, that makes these kids feel special. And it kind of seems stupid. It's one of those things like, oh, she texted me first, and that must mean she's interested. That kind of silly thing. But I mean, it means something when the coach carves out time for you. So yeah, that definitely means a lot to these kids, especially the younger kids that are Kirby's still trying to build these relationships with.
And we've got guys over here in the YouTube chat, just so you guys know, over here, Danny Blackman, Clifton Riles, Judah, Greg Rosenberg, Mario Brewster. We see all your comments. We appreciate you guys being in here. We answer questions from UGA Sports Vault members that are submitted on there. But thanks so much for being a part of it. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We appreciate everything. I think we got a deal, 50% off deal going through October 10th, I believe, going on right now. So you can find that promo. Any of us on Twitter, UGA at UGASports.com on Twitter as well. Wanted to mention here too, guys. Dead Soxy is a sponsor of the show. They tremendous socks out there that I saw in a store up in Blue Ridge the other day. I was like, hey, there's our sponsor. I think they're going to do a deal over here where if you join the pick contest, you could end up winning a 4-pack of the socks over there. Come this nice box set up over here. So I appreciate those guys sponsoring the show as well. I wanted to make sure I got that in there. Probably too late after Roddy told me to probably do it earlier in the show, but oh well. And it is what it is. We got it in there. So appreciate Dead Soxy for sponsoring the show, guys. It's available. The show's available on the podcast platform each and every morning after we're live here on the YouTube channel. So do us a favor, subscribe, turn on notifications, share with 3 friends if you like this content, guys. It really helps us out. Leave a review, all that kind of stuff, comments. We really appreciate it. And like I said, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, wherever you listen, you can find us on there as well. For Jed May and Trent Smallwood, I am Blaine Gilmer, and we will catch you next week, 8:15 live on Monday for another episode of Rumors versus Facts.